I'm not
Wait,
sure.
do that again.
I'm not sure I have a timbre that's going to make it.
Can you do the 2-cent difference one again?
So the first one's sharper. I'll do it in a different octave. There's also a little vibrato on this, which is making it.
close.
See if I can find another sound.
So what do you think of the Goose?
Goose is fantastic.
That was good.
Yeah, that's good. See, all these sounds have a little bit of that cheesy vibrato in it.
You can edit the sounds in there though, can't you?
Let's see if this works. Now, see, it's got a 2.
Do you have just like a sawtooth wave or something like that on there you can play back?
I'm not sure.
That is 2 cents. I can see it on the screen. It's just about 2 cents. Boy, that is hard to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when playing with the Scalatron, you know, I could hear 5 cents pretty easily.
Yeah.
Smaller than that was pretty tough.
Yeah.
Can you do 5?
I forgot this vibrato.
Yeah.
It's this cheesy tone box. I just can't escape the cheesiness. Yeah, you can't really tell.
The cheese factor.
But anyway, there it is. So maybe let's do one that's easier to hear between tempered and
Now, which
pure.
is the tempered one? The 70...
702. 700 is tempered.
700 is tempered.
Yeah.
And then and the untempered one is 702.
Right.
What do we sing? We sing the tempered one, right? When people sing, do
Tempered,
they sing,
yeah.
They sing the tempered one. They strive to sing the tempered one.
Well, if it's with the piano.
Yeah, yeah. That's choice 1.
That's just.
Oh,
That's not.
that's definitely noticeable.
Uh-huh.
Can you play the rest of the tune?
Do what?
Can you play the rest of it?
I don't know how it goes. I'm sorry.
That's
Oh.
fantastic.
Summer.
That's fantastic.
No, no, no.
You know
Just what Aaron
No,
wanted
no,
to do.
no,
Invent this so he
no,
could play
no.
Summertime.
We just want to play
And you
Gershwin
do a
tunes on it,
portamento,
right?
too. Amazing Grace, pentatonic.
Well,
Are
pentatonic.
you doing a
I was doing just.
Pythagorean? Oh, yeah.
I do
Yeah.
Pythagorean. With the just third.
Sounds kind of jarring.
The pure third.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Pythagorean. But you'll find if I have the pedal,
Oh, yeah, with the pedal.
yeah, it sounds better because you.
bagpipey. There.
Yeah, the drone and everything. It is a bagpipe.
Huh?
It is a bagpipe repertoire, right?
Yeah.
It's just something they play in the bagpipes a lot.
This?
That tune, yeah.
I would imagine.
Well, I'm losing it. I'm blowing my chops here.
This is just something you decided to do recently, or when you've been doing this for years, or?
I have a hard time keeping track of when things happen, but I think I put this together around June of last year. Is when I started putting it together.
About a year ago.
Yeah.
You just decided you wanted to develop an instrument that,
Well, I'd been working with the ideas probably since '96. So, for maybe 4 years before that.
and so it was wanting to develop an instrument you could perform on
Yeah,
that got lots of tones to the octave.
right. They
Yeah.
play any pitch.
Mhm.
So the original idea was to build an instrument called the Infiniphone.
Oh, great name.
Yeah, and it turned into the Goose.
You decided not to build, not to exactly, there are other people who've done these things,
Yeah.
Harry Parser do things, and there's some other people, he's the guy from, there's another famous guy who plays pieces with lots of notes to the octave.
Oh wow, Conlon and Carroll.
Conlon non-Caro, yeah.
Mhm.
From that-
Player piano style. Yeah.
Right, right.
Oh, yeah.
Did you build on them in any way, or were they an influence, or did you just didn't pay much attention to them, you just
No,
went your own way?
sure, an influence in that they were, pioneering in whatever they were doing with microtonality or with the extended instrument
Mhm.
capabilities. Yeah, certainly.
So they get almost as many
Inspired by
tones. They get almost as many tones per octave, I think. They just can't get all, 38,000. But for practical performing, don't they get Conlon non-Caro? Does he get 41 tones, or Harry Parts gets 41 tones? Or what?
Well, Parch was 43. I don't know what
Parts was
Dan Carroll.
43. Okay.
Yeah.
So that has happened before, where a person can get that many tones per octave on a performing instrument.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there were even instruments built in the, like in the Renaissance.
Yeah. Yeah, Vincentino.
Yeah.
The
Vincentino.
Archie, or what was it? Archie.
Archie Cembalo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. And so that's been done, but never 205.
I have never seen a reference to 205.
Mm-hmm.
I found one on the internet, but that was just this little blurb. Yeah, I've written in 205 equal temperament, and it was in this list. I think this guy named Mark Jones claims to have written music in every equal temperament up to 300 something.
And never where you could get all 38,000, or you could get 38,000 pitches either.
Well, this idea of working from a combinatorial just intonation, this idea of combining the ratios to get pitches, I haven't seen in any other instrument, so I don't know.
And in singing around the world, like Bulgarian singing, when people sing in seconds, and Romanian singing, people are getting some of these pitches. And they're singing some of these added pitches that you can now produce.
Right. Well, they're not conceiving of them in this way, but
Right.
yeah, with this instrument you can play them and have a system that represents them
Mhm.
in a sort of theoretical framework, a practical framework that you can discuss.
So if you were to transcribe a Bulgarian folk song where people sing in seconds, or maybe they're not getting the tempered third, and you were to go to transcribe it, would it come out that they're using some kind of system, or it just happens they're lowering a third and they're doing something else to a second? I mean, it's just indiscriminate. But they're following some kind
Possibly.
of system on it?
I don't know, a lot of transcriptions or reports that I've read about that kind of thing say that in such and such an instance within the performance, there's a sort of range of interval that they'll use for the minor third or major third. So
Right,
categorically, they hang around some kind of pitch here. It changes from verse to verse or
Mhm.
stanza to stanza or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's very precise, or sometimes the interval remains the same, but the root pitch will move around, like in Orthodox chanting. You know, there's
Okay.
melodic intervals, but the root, what you call the root pitch, is moving around like this, or rising up through the whole thing.
In Tibetan Buddhist chanting, sometimes it sounds like the you know, the low brass, the 18-foot long trumpets aren't always staying at a steady pitch. And you heard
They're
that
just
in
blowing, yeah.
Yeah, you
As-
heard that in class once.
yeah.
You heard that there was some augmented fourth being formed or something.
Right, it's probably the 11th harmonics, the alphorn harmonic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So when they're playing the 18-foot long trumpet, sometimes they get that harmonic.
yeah.
Okay, and you were hearing that when I was.
Well, I don't
Tibetan
know.
Buddhist
I don't,
chanting.
in fact, I don't remember. But
Yeah, yeah, no, I couldn't believe it. I said, oh my God, I don't hear that.
Oh, did I say that?
Yeah, yeah, you said it in
Okay.
class. We were listening, I think it was Tibetan Buddhist chanting. And you said, yeah, and then I was talking about the shawms rising above the root. And then Aaron said something about, yeah, and there's also an augmented fourth in there somewhere. I wouldn't know. I suppose maybe there is one in there. I'd have to start to really hear it 25,000 times, and even then I probably wouldn't know.
But one of the things I think is neat, you're talking about specific pitches being reiterated within a passage or something.
Mhm.
Would you find out that this is the same pitch? I was interested in transcribing Birdsong,
Mhm.
and that's something that just seems to be way outside our understanding of really transcribing directly in terms of frequency.
Mhm.
It's highly interpreted, but with it, I've found in listening to some bird calls that are very complicated, the call will have specific frequencies that are reiterated.
Mhm.
And what are they? Well, you could notate those precisely here. With all the glissandi and everything else, you would have to figure out a way to do that. But just the fact that there are specific pitches and you could write them down, I think, is interesting
So that
in transcription.
since 38,000 pitches are we were talking about here, theoretically, well, of course, we don't know if that's every pitch possible. I mean, there are birds and humans who create 38,000 doesn't cover every possible thing, because there can be glissandos in between.
Right. Well, theoretically, it's
But
infinite because
yeah,
it
it's
contains
infinite.
all numbers.
Yeah.
If you break it, if you want to express it in numbers, if you can use anything, and irrational numbers can't be expressed with this system, theoretically. But you come up with a ratio that is 0.001 cents off
Mhm.
from that, you're not going to
Yeah.
hear it.
You can
If
be-
it's 1 cent off, you won't hear it. If it's 2, you may, depending on context, but the point is that perceptually you can express virtually all pitches.
Yeah, yeah. Theoretically, you could transcribe anything.
Yeah.
When people sing, like in Bosnia, you were talking about, or in Bulgaria, and it's all from our system, you can have something here, they'll say, that's the pitch they're singing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And here it refers back to our system,
Mhm.
because I can say this pitch here is a flat G sharp,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and the G sharp happens to be from the cycle of 41. And it has a specific quantitative value in comparison with what we already use in the traditional system.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And that's really helpful. I think people used to talk, I guess, Bruno Nettle and some of the ethnomusicology people I studied with, I think, as I remember, they used to talk about the difficulty of knowing when you're studying a culture if they're making a mistake.
Yeah.
When they sing two different, say they sing pitches and they're here and then they're here, is that a mistake, or are they doing that on purpose, or, it's very hard to know that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just very hard to know when studying ethnomusicology whether somebody's making a mistake.
Yeah, because, well, I guess a lot of times they're not conceiving of it that way.
Yeah.
Like, if it's a performance or not, it's just something, they like the sound. If they're singing an interval, they don't even know what it is. They like the sound, they like the rough quality of the
Mhm.
beating, or they sing an octave. A lot of research has found that octaves are sung sharp in most cultures.
Oh, really?
So why do you sing a sustained octave sharp? Well, because they like the way it beats, and if it's not beating, then it's not
Mm-hmm.
correct.
Okay.
Is that kind of weird?
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, how would anybody know? I mean,
Yeah.
you hear a performance of Beethoven's Fifth, and you hear a second performance, and it's at a different tempo, and to somebody from another culture, they would think, well, are they making a mistake, or is
Yeah.
both of those are possible, or, what's the range of possibility? Yeah, yeah. But then you get to the point where, okay, if it's this far off, that's a mistake. But if it's within this range, it's all considered the same note, basically, by the singers. Anything within this range is considered acceptable. They don't look at themselves as making a mistake. But if somebody hits a pitch this far off, then there's someone might say, oh, you hit the wrong note, or you're doing something wrong. Yeah, so there's always that range. Yeah, and this can measure that.
Yeah, or express it,
Yeah,
in a
yeah.
measurable way.
Yeah, it's fabulous.
What do you think, John?
I like it. It's all good stuff.